As you know, the world is changing. Young people are changing their reading habits. Older people are even changing their ways of getting information. There was a time when we got mail in the mailbox. There was a time when we got news on television. Much of that is changing now. And so today, what we're going to do is talk with the president of Ikfad TV and Bullet Media, Dave Martineau. Dave, welcome.
Well, thank you very much, John.
Now, you're heavily steeped in this business. How has it changed? How are people changing their habits?
Well, I guess there's two things to it. People are changing their habits on how they're reading the news, but I don't think people are changing their habits on the content that they want to see. So, for 100 years, people have wanted to know what is going on around them and how it affects their lives. If that content gets delivered online, on TV, in newspapers, on radio, people will tune in or read it or listen to it. I think that's maybe where the mistake that a trap that we kind of got into in the news media for a number of years, that we got away from that premise. We started focusing more and more on the quarterly profit and the yearly profit rather than focusing on the content for the reader. What I think has occurred now, though, is the internet has come along and has allowed individuals, small businesses, other organizations to compete in that space that only the larger companies could compete in it before. And they're the ones that are starting to deliver that deeper content, hyper-local content that affects people's lives day to day.
You know, I'm a fan of Thomas Friedman, who of the New York Times, who's written this book about the world becoming flat. We are all together now. There is the opportunity to go around the world, which is what the net and the web do. My two kids, who are now out of the house, living their own lives, never read a newspaper in print. They read online. Is that what you're seeing?
Well, I think so. It depends, John. I'm fortunate enough to go around North America and do some consulting at various news organizations. The newspapers that focus on hyper-local content still have an opportunity to fill that space, to write about the things that are important in people's lives in their particular communities. The internet is providing a great space for people to find out about what's going on everywhere in the world all the time. Whoever fills that space on a local level, because it's still very, very important that we're in a community, we live in a town, or we live in a city. What is happening around me? What is happening, for example, with municipal politics? That a decision made at council, how is that going to affect me as an individual? If that news organization, whether again it's online or in print or on television or on radio, whoever can articulate that to the masses to the local masses, I guess, in a clear and concise manner, they're going to be successful.
And we're now on a 24-hour clock. I want to read it now when I'm ready, not when it arrives.
Well, that's an excellent point. And I think that's the one advantage, I guess, of the internet. And all of these organizations are supplementing. It might actually be the other way. The newsprint is almost becoming the marketing tool for the online content that people are providing. But there's still room for all of this, if it's in depth, hyper local, and again I'm speaking on certainly speaking on a local level. But you're right. If something occurs and if something happens and the news organization has come to the conclusion where they have the foresight to publish it immediately online and then supplement it in their newspapers, then great.
Now, this program is on Ikfad TV. How are Bullet and Ikfad doing? You're about a year old now?
Well, with Bullet News Niagara, we're about a year and 4 months old with our site, and we're absolutely thrilled to death with the numbers that we've derived. So we feel we've had an impact because of the reporting that we've done. We feel we've had an impact on various things that have occurred in the region. Specifically, healthcare, we've delved deeply into. The Niagara Parks Commission, our reporters have delved deeply into. And because of that, our readership has climbed and climbed and climbed. We're also now the only news organization in the Niagara region that has status with the Ontario Press Council for ethics and journalism. So we're
What does that mean, Dave? Explain that a bit.
well, it's a body or a board that if you feel that a story hasn't fulfilled both sides of the issue properly, it's a mechanism where any reader can go to that board and say, Bullet News Niagara, for example, did not fulfill the other side of it. So it's kind of a complaint mechanism. And then we have an obligation to either say, yes, we did, and articulate how we did, or if that board has concluded that we didn't, that we fulfill that obligation and
So
report on the other side.
it's a way for the public to say, wait a minute, here's another side. But you're saying you're the only organization of all the media in Niagara, you're the only organization that belongs to that group?
That's correct.
Very good. Let me ask you quickly, Dave. You've been in the region a long time. Where do you see this region a year from now? What will we see 12 months out?
Oh, boy, that is a really tough question to answer, John. I don't know. You can see how each community is striving for their own identity, striving to make themselves successful, understandably. You can also see factions trying to work together as a regional component to make the region better. Sometimes those come at odds, and it seems like the communities are still trying to find a way how to overcome that conflict sometimes. And in a year from now, I think it'll be even better. And on the positive side, it does seem to be getting better and better. I mean, a convention center has been built in Niagara Falls for the good of the whole region. A hospital is getting built in St. Catharines for the good of the whole region. So it seems like some of those barriers are slowly coming down, and the new regional tourism organization that is slowly progressing may have a positive impact as well, we hope.
Now, you do a lot of traveling around North America for different purposes. When you look at big media, which many of us grew up with, what's happening just very quickly with big media?
Well, it depends. I think they're the ones that are having the most difficult time trying to continue to identify with their readers or their viewers, because for such a long time they were in a space where they provided all information for all people. But that component has become so fractured and so prevalent that there's so many online sources to derive that national and international news. It's people aren't buying, for example, the Houston Chronicle now for the national or international news. So circulations and subscribers are declining, and how do you sort of continue to fulfill that mandate to the readers that still go to you for that, but also progress to filling a deeper local content as well. So those bigger news organizations are struggling with it. The smaller ones able to adapt easily and quickly.
I asked before, Dave, about how you see the region a year from now. How will we see Bullet and Ikfad a year from now?
Well, with Bullet, it's easy. We're just going to continue to dig deeply into hard news issues, which is what we've done, and continue to progress that way. With Ikfad TV, we're still trying to kind of find our way. We have we're really fortunate actually to have fantastic people working for us. So we have a great on-air personality, Annie Sylvester. it's trying to find the mass appeal for Ikfad, I think, but we're not too panicky because I think we're in the same boat that we were with Bullet News when we first started, and we saw a really good progression with Bullet. So we're struggling a little bit trying to find our identity with Ikfad, but that'll come along. And if you've noticed, the advertisers are really gravitating towards Ikfad and Bullet because we're offering something that nobody else is offering, which are these 15-second TV commercials. So we've integrated these 15-second commercials from the play in front of the videos on Ikfad that also now play on the Bullet News Niagara content embedded right into the stories.
Well, I'm glad you're back in Niagara for a bit, Dave. Thanks very much for coming in.
Well, thanks a lot, John.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Take care.
All the best.